it. Whoa, that crit. And a format shockwave on there. And there it is. 3-man lens barrel goes down.
The steal.
PUP takes the bounce.
That will be the next juicy target. That is going to be the ace. UPD demand 16 and 7. Will they be able to finish this? Oh,
Here in the hands of JBL. They are set to finish this game. Let's see.
There we go. Welcome back, everyone, to the LCL Lenovo Collegiate. The semi-finals of the LCL Collegiate League. We'll be your shotcasters. I am Vulcan, and joining with me is Arctic.
Yes, there we go. And very interesting games that we had today. In fact, probably much more intense in my opinion in comparison to the first matchup that we had between TUP and UC. You know, it's just so hard. The claws are out for both sides, for both JBL and UPD. And I'm just in a slump at this point. I really couldn't determine who's going to take it all the way to the finals, because this is one of my favorite matchups, to be honest. As soon as I found out that both UPD and JBL came out of their respective groups, like, this is like finals material. This is like a finals material matchup, actually, for me.
In a way that we've witnessed this is what we call a clutch game, where both members of both teams are actually struggling to secure their spot for the finals.
Indeed. So yeah, I mean, based on that previous game earlier, it's very close, these games, actually. You can't really see those heavy slumps in comparison to the UC versus TUPs, wherein one side would just really gun at it, you know. So there we go. We're going to be heading into the pick and ban right now for both JBL and UPD Diliman. Okay, so this is a little bit of a small tech difficulty right there. But yeah, one of those sides, either way, there's going to be a Zach ban. So that's for sure for either Farmville. So yeah, it's going to be a Twitch, actually. So it will be the Twitch banned out from G's. Yeah, you know, a lot of respect.
I mean, it's not the fact that we're seeing a respect ban, but it's also the fact that UPD knows G's and knows their ADC properly, that they know who to ban and how to make the composition complement the weaknesses they have.
Yeah, because clearly it goes for all teams across the board here in the top four. Sure, they all have their respective strengths, but there's always those people that you either want to ban out, or ban out because you don't want them on their optimal champs, or because you want to ban out because you know for a fact that there's a certain limit to the champs that they use. And so far, based on what we're seeing, it's definitely respect as to what champions they do not want to go up against. So look at this, double bans right away for G's once again.
Another double ban for the ADC of JBL. That game was pretty close. It could be anyone's game, and we did see the macro play where JBL and UPD are very identical, but it all comes down to your composition. And UPD, their second game draft was pretty well planned out, and that's why they've moved on to a 1-1 score. This is going to be a very interesting night.
Definitely an interesting night that it will be, whether or not it'll be the same trend as UP and TUP, where they had to go all the way into a game 5. You know, this may very well be, because all these matches have been so close thus far. And there you have it. We're going to be having the Rakan and the Kennen banned out from both Iconic and Neat, respectively. They did perform really well. Like I mentioned, Rakan is one of those champions which I personally believe has a high skill cap in a way. So Neep, of course, one of those support players that's actually good at maneuvering such champions. And there you go, Vladimir, of course. Much respect to Owl in that first game. That was a very painful Owl. But yeah, going into the picks, of course, Galio going to be locked in for JBL right off the bat.
And also for the Galio pickup by JBL, this time it'll be them to try out their luck. We did see that for UPD, they were on the blue side, this time on the red side. This is all about strategy. But hands down to UPD for respecting JBL's out. That was uncontrollable in the first game.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one person that's really been consistent on JBL thus far within these first 2 games, I gotta hand it to Owl. He's really stepping up his game. And for a freshman, most especially, like you mentioned, if you guys watch that, the team spotlight videos that they've released for LCL, they did talk about how Owl is one of those freshmen. So imagine, he's so good right now. Imagine in splits to come, if ever he does continue to play in the local collegiate league. But yeah, anyways, going into these picks right here, I kind of mumbled into that. Kha'Zix and Varus actually going to be picked for both G's and Farmville respectively as well. Finally, Farmville actually going to go back to going to continue their prowess because we know Farmville is very powerful in the jungle. So yeah,
We're also going to be seeing that Fiora. I mean, that has been opened, slipped off, and that will be in the hands of Iconic. So I hope Shy is ready for that.
yeah, definitely. Although we can't discount the fact that potentially this could be a mid lane Galio, perhaps. Might be seeing some mind tricks here.
Very
you know.
flex picks.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe JBL has that same ace up their sleeves because we have seen mid Galio just yesterday, actually, just this Friday and Saturday during PGS, you know, very, very strong. If anything, there's such a huge impact when sending this Galio in the mid lane. So, but looks like that will not be the case. Instead, looks like Owl might be wanting to show for Zerk a thing or two by going this Kassadin. As for Zerk, you know, he did go for that Kassadin in game 1, if I'm not mistaken. So, game 3, it's going to be Owl that'll be flexing his muscles a bit. And we'll just have to see, maybe will he be the better Kassadin than for Zerk? That's something I'm looking forward to seeing.
We did see in game 1 that it was complete domination for JBL. They knew their composition, but this time UPD, they know their mistakes, adapted. This time, putting Iconic not anymore in a top role, top tank role. Now it's going to be a fighter top lane like a Fiora or a Jace. So now this is a very interesting draft.
And yeah, it's going both sides.
Support. I thought that was going to be a support Oriana for a second. That would have been interesting, though.
Yeah, I've actually played a very unorthodox support Oriana when I was queuing with one of my former challenger players. It actually worked, but oh wait, no, don't guys, please don't. It worked during that game, but I'm not saying that's not gonna work for all occasions. It's by chance, but yeah. Anyways, going back to these picks, of course, yeah, it's actually the same trend for Zerk right here. Owl used that Oriana during game 2, so it's like we'll see who the better guy here is for both mid laners. And
very personal picks.
yeah, you know, if you're gonna look into that, if you're gonna dig in a little bit deeper. But then again, of course, it's not necessarily because of that, of wanting to prove each other as to who's stronger. Technically, logically speaking, technically and logically, it sounds like I said technically and logically. Yeah, so but yeah, technically and logically speaking, like both champions actually make sense in these compositions.
What makes you say that?
Well, later on, because I actually want to check out what the full rosters are once again. But definitely, that Oriana, it's gonna be something that's gonna be. I mean, because this is for Zerk that we're talking about. He's been very consistent.
But this time he's going to be on a utility mid champion. So now it's going to be Owl on an AP mage assassin type, but against Kassadin, and Oriana will have a trouble for now into the pre-level 3. But for JBL Owl to actually perform well against Oriana, that's something that he has to really show for Zerk that he is the better mid laner.
Oh, just have to see. And of course, it's not just about who the better mid laner is, of course, who the better team is as we go into this preview interview.
I think they're a very strong team. They managed to go undefeated as well. I feel like aside from us, they're the only other undefeated team. So the semifinals match is probably going to be like the finals. I feel like the semifinals is going to be more of the finals than the actual finals itself. So I'm looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, and there we go. We are going to be heading into Summoner's Rift for Game 3 of the second matchup for the Lenovo Low Collegiate League semifinals between JB Laxon and University of the Philippines. Diliman, of course, for wherever you're watching right now, whether it be Facebook or YouTube. Make some noise. Let us know who you guys are supporting. Hashtag JBLWinba or hashtag UPDWin.
And this might carry on to to the 5th game if you guys do want that to happen. I mean, personally, I like seeing a best of 5 series move on until the last bit where it tests the endurance and the strategy of both teams. But this time, I think UPD will not risk any more, knowing that they did give a victory to JBL.
Oh, yes, oh, yes, oh, yes. And I'm not sure if this was brought up earlier, but what's interesting here is that it's the Battle of the Maroons. You have the Maroon Dragons, and technically UP Diliman, well, UP in general, you know, we all know that maroon is the color that represents them to the T, even like even in games like in traditional sports, actually.
So is it the maroon human versus the maroon dragon, in a way?
Yeah, actually. Okay, I will go with that. Okay, but yeah, I mean, looking into this draft here, now that we have a clear picture as to what we're working with, I like that for Zerk actually went for a more utility-oriented. I wouldn't like say full utility, but then again, Orianna does have her merits in terms of damage. But yeah, I definitely get what you see. If anything, because Iconic runs on the sphere, I feel like it definitely complements.
And to add to that, he's running the Doran's shield, one of the most efficient items so far. Gone are the days of that glorious Doran's play. Make way for the shield.
And you know, it's interesting looking at the pathing of the junglers. There might actually come to a point wherein they cross each other if they do decide to gank the same lane, whether it be top lane, or whether it be mid lane on Owl and for Zerk or Shy and Iconic. But that's for sure. One thing I'm actually expecting here is Beer might actually be transitioning or giving a little bit more heavier focus on Iconic for Fiora, because they really want to get that Fiora going to beat.
So the rotations will always follow, as we've seen in the first 2 games, where Beer, majority, he always picks that Elise and also gets the first blood.
Oh, yeah.
That is the lead you want on a jungler and help snowball each lane. So the focus would be onto Iconic in the top lane. For Shy's case, Farmville will really have his work cut out.
And it's actually interesting because since Owl is running this Kassadin, he won't be able to be as explosive as we know as he could be running this type of champion within the first few minutes of the game. That being said, he has to be really careful because, you know, like you mentioned, Beer, a lot of these first bloods have been attributed to Beer thus far, but looks like we're going to
no, Jiz's position is a bit too dangerous. He did manage to get away from that danger zone, but now Veer does not know. He is on top of a ward. Shy is just pretending to be vulnerable. They beat him out. Waste of time. We do see Farmville, the brush side of his own jungle. This is very interesting to see. But you gotta say, man, when something feels off, it's in you. And Beer felt it, and that's why he left.
Hashtag instinct right there. And yeah, I mean, that being said, it's actually interesting here now that I realize that Owl is running this Kassadin. Not only do you have to wait for your optimal spikes, but at the same time, Owl will also need that opportunity and room to catch up on CS as well. Because 10 CS right now, 11, now 11. But yeah, as that continues to build up. Oh!
Here comes Deep, goes deep in. G is forcing out his flash. There's the heal also, and Exhaust was on the Blizzard to help negate the damage.
Damn, oh man, I really like that things are definitely just kind of going on. You know, these really small exchanges, and you know for a fact this will actually match us later on. So look at Owl though. This is going to be a struggle for him. I feel like Farmville, if anything, should definitely help ease the pressure here in this mid lane. Because if Owl, like I mentioned, you have to give him room to transition later on, and at the same time get enough CS as well to transition into better items. But I also like this Dark Seal pickoff because it'll make his corrupting potion all the more potent.
But what happened in the bot lane was really bad for JBL. They've lost 2 summoners onto G's, and that was a huge loss for them. So now, Nee, it gives him the opportunity to make that aggressive flashing play, but Fear gets the stun on him. Jizz is in trouble. Here comes Farmville for the respawns. Very low. Demian does not have enough mana, just backs away.
Yeah, there we go. The presence of Farmville. Although technically, I'm not sure if it was needed, but it definitely kept UPD from pursuing Demigod, because he was actually. I was actually kind of worried for them because for that split second he was in an awkward position where he might have, like UPD could have potentially continued, but then again, of course, the restraint is there. But yeah, it's actually such a shame for Neep because he actually used that flash to try to make a play onto JBL's bot lane, but because that play was kind of off axis, off angle, it didn't really translate to anything bigger. Although it's a good attempt, but I mean, losing that summoner spell. Sayang.
So yeah, now the flash is down for Neeb, so it's for, I don't think, yeah, Blizzard did not spend any summoner, so it's pretty much in the safe zone. But for G's, he has to be careful with his position. The Barret's very low mobility. Now burning his flash and baiting out Shy's teleport cooldown.
Yeah, and even though that's a summoner spell down for Shy, it's something he could somewhat afford in a way because he is running a Galio, because sure, you lose the teleport, which kind of it semi-limits his presence, but because of Hero's entrance, there's still some level of response he could still make. He can still make plays across the map, regardless. Not just as rangeless as a teleport.
But he does have that hero's entrance, so kind of a melee teleport that's more instant. So
Definitely.
in terms of map pressure, Shy does have the advantage, but Farmville has yet to dictate who has to snowball. He has to instead babysit, in my opinion, Owl. He is having a hard time against an Oriana since it's not yet defensive yet. His picks up items are not that efficient or not much combat items.
I actually got to commend the coach, or I'm not sure if it's the coach that drafted for JBL because they do have a coach, or if this is something they might have talked between themselves. I like the idea of running a double teleport with a Galio and Kassadin because it makes, like you mentioned, in a way, Galio can roam, has more presence because of the hero's entrance, and at the same time, same goes for Kassadin. If the teleport's down, he has the Rift Walk to kind of respond a little bit more faster or make himself a stickier target to boot. So yeah, I really like the thought process that JBL put into this when drafting.
How do I say? The players are on edge. I can see it, man. I mean, this is the best of 5 series. Just how UPD played this game. But right now, Iconic gets the heat from Farmville and Shy, forcing out his flash, makes a way save.
Not a bad trade.
Not a bad trade, but to add to that, Iconic's top lane is a bit sticky to hard to gank in a way because he's very safe. But here comes the 3-man gank.
No.
Shy though gets blocked by Iconic, and he manages to dodge that hook.
Oh man, good on Shy.
Here comes Shockwave gameplay. Aldo takes in the heat, but he's very low. Not very much damage coming from him. He does shift away, but that would be a painful first blood for Berserk.
Yeah, definitely great on Berserk actually getting that kill. Expended the flash, but that was definitely worth. And I gotta hand it to Neep. This is, like they mentioned, UPD, this is one of the strategies that they did mention that they're going to be going for. Later on during the game, Neep will go for these roams, kind of leave Blizzard to defend for himself.
Oh no, Shy. 3-man ganking the top lane, he cannot escape this. Close call though, but Neep manages to heal thanks to the Grand Challenge. So, JBL, they are not responding effectively through UPD's roam, and this is what happens when UPD gets this much pressure early on.
I gotta give my commendations to Blizzard as well, because even though Neep was, like, within these last few minutes was roaming, technically you'd think that he'd be at a disadvantage because he's left alone to fend for himself against both an AD carry and support for JBL. That being said, before he recalled, he was actually a few CS up, so that's actually quite commendable.
Look at the CS3 for Iconic against Shy. That is just huge. 38 to 76. Not a really good score you want to have against the Fiora.
Definitely. And that's actually the interesting thing here, considering how we kind of need to wait for Owl to reach its optimal fights. Oh, here we have a fight though.
Fight going on. Shy is trying to back away. He can't fight that Fiora. He does not have enough defensive items. And he's very soft. Look at that. 2 Thoran strength. He's better off getting a cloth armor or early in Ninja Tabi.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, it's actually interesting here. I like that again, I like how UPD's thought process as well, looking at the draft here. Drafting a Fiora. Like I mentioned, if you get things going earlier on for her, it's actually great. And at the same time, once you do, not only do you meet those win conditions, but at the same time, looking at the draft from JBL, they actually need that space to transition later on during the game, and that could be hindered.
Oh boy, Farmville just walked into that. He's forcing out of his flash, and also taking an Inferno. Farmville just lost that trade by a landslide.
Definitely, and that's going to be the first Drake for the game, going to UPD Liman. So Infernal Drake definitely going to amplify their damage, and that's technically a Drake that you don't want to give to them, given the lineup that they have. And wow, 0-2 right now. So definitely UP did them at a great start. 2,000 gold deficit in favor of them. But then again, what I'm really interested in seeing here is whether or not JBL has that restraint to not let that death count increase by the numbers. Because since they're running a Kassadin, they do have that leeway in a way. It's granted that they could confer a few deaths. It's just that you don't want that margin to get too big, because that being said, if you do, it'll actually allow them to reach those spikes, because not necessarily.
Oh, no.
Veer though.
Veer though. Christ, just caught that cocoon like it was nothing. Better work on his positioning, and for UPD's rotation, very on point. And not to mention, also for Veer, he's been really scaring the members of JBL, and also for Shy, very behind in CS. Look at that, almost nearly half CS he's lost against Iconic.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I'm still waiting for Farmville to make things happen in a way, but sure. Despite that, he was able to get a little bit of farm, which definitely reflects in the kick difference for his college against the Elise. But here we go, fight is happening.
Fight is happening out. Here comes the grand challenge. Here Iconic eats a lot of heat. Here comes the hero advantage for the lockup. Iconic still manages to get a kill. Then now in the bottom lane, that would be a dive onto Veer. He did manage to get what he wants, but Owl still is trying to salvage the fight, forcing out his flash. But in the top lane, we see that Iconic didn't die.
Oh man, and this is very interesting. 0-5 right now, and UPD might actually voice themselves to getting the first turret of the game.
Wow, 0-5 scored 12 minutes into the game. That was their first turret in the hands of UPD. JBL is struggling to keep up.
Yeah, it's definitely a great start for UPD, man. We'll just have to see. Again, like I mentioned, they can't afford a few deaths. Just don't. I mean, this is like probably the max they could afford themselves.
After this, they're gonna have a hard time catching up.
Yeah, if they could occur even more deaths, especially with this of a margin, 0-5, not even a single kill to their name, then yeah, I mean, even though they technically by the time they reach the later parts of the game, but because they'd be so behind, it would be pretty much moot, this composition that they're running.
Things are very under pressure for JBL. Well, UPD riding a really smooth sail. Owl, though, really, I don't understand what he keeps committing to that. He is just leaving himself open and just feeding for Zerg. I don't know what he was planning with low health. Still just staying there, not respecting the range, and for Zerg is something that you don't want to do. You're already 0-2, and you're still gonna have that hard positioning error.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I was just getting harassed by this ball from Oriana right here. And that being said, UPD Liman definitely has a lot of control right now. You know, Deep actually getting some deep vision on, will be denying a blue buff as well. Iconic though.
Oh man, just left alone. You better check your sights, guys. And now is the ground challenge. There is the monsoon to back away. Iconic. There's the dive by Farmville, taking so much turret hits.
Oh man, though JBL, will they be continuing this onslaught? Though Iconic
actually
forced to back away, but then of course, as an extra precaution as well, JBL will be backing up. This is going to be the Rift Herald.
They can actually end the game if they have this Rift Herald. I mean, 14-minute Rift Herald is pretty solid, and seeing how Owl is very, very behind in terms of itemization, they can just go run it down mid and really end the misery of JBL if they do not fix their careless mistakes and error.
Yeah, definitely. And man, across the board, stats are looking great for UPD Liman. Not a single player, well, with the exception of Farmville though, actually matches the CS lead for UPD Liman all around.
Things are just looking more in favor for UPD because JBL, it all came up to Owl. Maybe it's the pressure of this best of 5 series getting to him, but that type of error is only caused by him not really reading his opponent properly or not paying attention to the cooldowns of an Oriana. You can't all in on Oriana.
And that's actually an interesting point that you brought up because people tend to think that you just have to look at the mechanics of the players when going into these types of scenarios. But of course, you do have to take into account that this is a semifinals game. There's so much at stake, not to mention that coming out of the interconference series, sure, if you're gonna look at the interconference series, all you have to do is perform in best of 2. This is a best of 5 wherein like anything could go, a lot of things could go wrong for both sides. And I'm not just talking about how they play their champions and their compositions and the teamwork. I'm talking about the mindsets, which is why there are actually teams, if you actually watch the pro scene, wherein they perform in these smaller matches, but when they hit the bigger best of 5
oh, look at that shockwave! Berserk showing how it is done to Owl. That is the flesh wound UPD has opened, and now look at the time. 60 minutes in, already running it down mid. This is the price you pay, JBL, for that type of mistake and error.
Yeah, you predicted it with the Rip Herald.
Oh
Very good
boy,
use.
here comes Farmville, takes the heat, flashes out. That's got a lot of damage coming in for the balls, but look at that Jizz though. Still managing to stack of kills, but looking at Blizzard, Ruthless Pedestal, that's not going to be enough. Owl though, I bet his tilting just went straight in.
I gotta say though, I really like, now that I realize, I really like the Saya pick from Blizzard. Not only because he is efficient as a champion, but at the same time, if you're gonna look at the composition of JBL, there's so many people that he could strike with those feathers right here. Kassadin has to go in, Kha'Zix has to go in, Galio has to go in. So that's a lot of people you could stun. And it's not necessarily, it's pretty easy actually, because JBL themselves will be coming to the Saya.
What is happening to JBL? They had such a good first game. Also, the second game was such a clutch and close game. Both sides were really evenly matched. But entering the third game like this, I wonder what happened to the mental state of these players.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, it all comes down to the fact that there are these types of teams that when you go for these prolonged matches, best of 3s, best of 5s, they actually kind of struggle. And it's not because, like, there's so many things they could be worn out. Like I mentioned, there's the mindset aspect as well. They could potentially psych themselves out. And considering that JBL is a new team to the top 4, it's actually probably not as surprising. Like I mentioned, there's so much potential in JBL, without a doubt. Owl, one of the freshmen, coming into the game, but here we go, we have a fight.
Here comes the heroic entrance. Iconic. Forced out of there. He does not want to deal with it, but Owl though still challenging him when he still has the grand challenge. Just fades in. Iconic for a kill. Shy.
Yeah, and these are the small victories that JBL needs to slowly get back into this game. Again, patience is key, like you mentioned. And again, wow, I mean, UPD Liman though, they're actually poisoning themselves, trying to find a way to retaliate.
Oh
This demigod,
no!
though.
Better check your blind spots. You need to ward that fog of ward. You cannot afford to recall in a careless place like that.
Yeah, that being said, speaking of warding, JBL, if they're gonna, they really need to try to counter control, defend. It's all about the defense here for JBL at this point. Of course, defensive wards are key to kind of make sure that they don't get caught up by UPD Liman. Because if you're gonna look at UPD Liman, especially with the control that they have right there, there's so much confidence to roam across this map here and try to pick up targets from JBL at this point.
80 minutes into the game with a skill score of 310. That is a huge gold deficit.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. And it's just so interesting now. What I gotta hand it to JBL though, if anything, they were able to prevent Iconic from go full snowball with this Fiora. But the thing is though, you can't discount the fact though that Iconic is items up in comparison to his top lane counterpart. Actually has his already has the Ravenous Hydra rather completed as his first item. While if you're gonna look at Shy, not even the first item completed.
Look at these, very scared, but here comes Shy. For this is that it will be the chain of corruption carried away and a pressure in the top lane, forcing a death of the demigod. JBL is just crumbling under the macro play of UPD.
Yeah, UPD did it, man. Really overwhelming.
Oh, the play out just gets CC locked, and in the bottom lane, Shy is focusing onto Iconic, but the members of UPD sets their eyes on the base of JBL. The ultimate is not yet offered. Shy cannot respond in time. The Nexus turret is getting taken down. UPD! What a fast game. 20 minutes, they are having a really clean closure.
Yeah, definitely. Probably the fastest game that we're going to be seeing here in the semifinals. JBL trying to fight this off, but then again, especially with these early dominance, it's kind of hard to come back into these games.
Flash in and a double kill for Berserk. And this is just murder. What happened to the JBL we saw in Game 1 and Game 2? This is mistakes happening, and UPD capitalizing on it and securing a 2-1 score for Game 3.
This is just the Game 4 JBL massacre right there by UPD Liman. And I gotta hand it to UPD Liman. Finally, they're really building up the momentum, and we're actually seeing why we peg UPD Liman as probably the best team in the LCL in terms of the macro play, and it was clearly demonstrated. Like across the board, action was happening, and the great thing about this is UPD Diliman always triumph in those in all the action that we've been seeing on Summoner's Rift, and I'm just in awe right now. You know, great mindset that UPD Diliman is having right now. 2 wins, just one more.
And they will move on to the finals of the LCL, and things are looking pretty good for them so far. Whereas JBL still struggling to find their footing. This is the best of 5 series, and wow, look at the damage coming from Berserk, and not even the members of JBL summed up in try and match it. I mean, very huge difference.
And you know, looking at how JBL played this game, I have no doubt in my mind that they could have pulled off this composition. It's just that since they're up against a team such as UPD Diliman, when they know how to really capitalize on their advantages, they were very, very proactive in the early game, ultimately shutting down JBL. So going into the next game, I feel that JBL might want to reconsider Owl's, what champions they put Owl on.
Yeah.
Because Owl, I feel like it's much more ideal to put him on a champion that probably, if anything, is consistent throughout all phases, or if anything, probably much more dominant in the earlier game, because that's one of the strengths that JBL had during the first game.
I mean, a really late scaling champion is not good against UPD, knowing that they do have that aggressive rotation. But let's level up to the next game, guys. You just watched the Lenovo LCL Spring Term 2017 Challenge. What you know. Don't go away just yet. We are moving on to the 4th game. We have been the Shoutcasters. I am Vulcan, and joining with me is my co-caster, Arctic. See you. Just out. That's a lot of damage coming in for the balls, but look at that. Yes, though, the managed to stack of kills, but looking at Blizzard, through those better swords, that's not going to be enough. Owl, though, I bet his tailbane just went straight in.
I gotta say,
minutes, we are having a really closure.
Yeah, that's probably the fastest game that we're seeing here. They are trying to fight off, but then again, especially with this really dominant, it's kind of hard to come back to this game.
Back in, and a double kill for Berserk. And this is just murder. What happened to the JBL we saw in Game 1 and Game 2? This is mistakes happening, and UPD capitalizing on it and securing a 2-1 score for Game 2.
This is the for Game 2.
Not enough Garena shells to buy the latest League of Legends skin? On sale now? Get shells anytime, anywhere with your Globe or Touch mobile number. Go to gamer.com.ph and sign up with your mobile number and enter the verification code you will receive via SMS. Log in and choose the game and pin you want. Check out to purchase the pin with your load or through your postpaid account and receive the pin on your phone instantly. Never miss a sale on your favorite League of Legends skins and champions with Gamer.
Stay alive, heaven holds a place for us tonight. I am